What's up, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Gimme. Why the Gimme? You guys know why. Because it's good. This week, the RBC Heritage, and yeah, this is a big one. I know last week was the Masters. Well, we've got 42 players making the short trip from Augusta to Hilton Head this week to play in this tournament. One of my favorites every single year. I'm Jason Sobel. He is Collin Wilson. Coming up on the show, we're going to do our perfect portfolios, giving you our favorite outrights, our favorite prop plays, our first round leader play. And yes, we'll make our very own ultimate DFS lineup. Collin, I know you've been doing a whirlwind tour of the best Vegas golf courses. Love the Cascada hat. Are you ready for this, buddy?
TPC Las Vegas yesterday, 2 days of golf. I'm ready to do this show. I am golfed up.
Man, I am jealous of you, but I will just merely sit here at home and work on the show with you. I was at Augusta National last week. I don't know, brag, but, you know, that was okay too. Let's get to the top of the board. Justin Thomas is your favorite. I love that JT is playing here this week. It's a Ball Strikers golf course. He is a ball striker. He is 9-1. Collin Morikawa, he also is a ball striker. He's 12-1 this week. Patrick Cantlay, 4 straight finishes outside the top 25. He's at 14-1. Cameron Smith, fresh off a title contention last week, just a little too short. He is 16-1. And Daniel Berger and Shane Lowry round up that top tier. They are 18-1. Shane Lowry says he's playing the best golf of his life right now. Hard to argue that. I think we're going to hear a little bit about Shane Lowry coming up very, very soon. Let's get to our perfect portfolios. You can see how we did last week, Collin. Almost even, just about even. Me, I'm down a little bit, couple of bad beats. If you were like me, had Will Zalatoris for a top 5. Wow, that was so cool seeing Rory make one out of the bunker on 18. I'm fine with that. Oh, Collin Morikawa has to do it too, and then Will Zalatoris falls to 6th place. Cool. That's cool. Whatever. Yeah, okay, great. That's a bad beat right there. All right, Collin, give us some good wins this week instead of some bad beats. Where are your favorite outrights this week?
We need some good juju this week after I had so much Cam Smith money that broke my heart on Scotty Scheffler on the 3rd. So let's start off. Let's do an outright 10% of my bankroll on Shane Lowry. Listen, I'm following the greatest golf writer of our generation, and Jason Sobel, in a piece that he put out, a post-Masters bump that talked about how dialed in Shane Lowry is right now on all aspects of golf. When I read Jason's story at Action Network, and everybody should go read it, he says Shane Lowry is going to win one soon. I think he is too, and it could be this week. You know, we have course history for him here. He finished 9th and 3rd when this followed up the Masters the last 2 times. And in this field, Lowry's top 5 in recent form when it comes to strokes gained tee to green. You're going to hear a lot about that on the show. And really, that's enough for me to lay 10% of my bankroll. Then I'm going to take a little bit.
By the way, Collin, while I agree with you, agreeing with me about Shane Lowry, and I love it this week, don't be afraid to lock in a futures play on Shane Lowry for the U.S. Open. A lot of people might say Open Championship. You're going to need to shoot in the low to mid 20s under par if the wind isn't blowing at St. Andrews in a few months. But at Brookline, the country club, where the score is going to be closer in relation to par, Shane Lowry plays really well on tough golf courses. That's where I like him. Watch out for him there.
Yeah, and as from a gambling point of view, it's like, you know, me having Cam Smith last week in the 40s, even though it didn't win, you've got to get ahead of the curve before these guys win tournaments, and Shane Lowry is due to win. So get ahead of that number. I'm going to go a little bit of a long shot on my outrights. Usually I like to keep them around 20-1, but I can't help ignore that every time I see Joaquin Niemann tee off, I'm going to take him 35-1 for 10% of my bankroll. When he tees off, I mean, he's only 23 years old, but he is right there. From a tee to green perspective, the other stat that you want to look at Harbortown is strokes gained approach. This is a Pete Dye course. That means customary greens that are elevated, easy access to roll off, kind of muffin tops, you know. And, Joaquin Niemann is one of those players right now, top 15 in recent form from both of these perspectives from strokes gained. And, he started both the Players and the Masters shooting under 70 in his first round. Weather set in at the Players. He got paired up with Tiger. You can't even imagine the pressure on that guy at the Masters playing with Tiger. But this is still a golfer that checks all the boxes from a strokes gained approach. 5th here in 2020. I know it wasn't played after, we're going to talk about that. It wasn't played after the Masters, but still the only time he's played here, he finished 5th. So 35-1, 10% on Joaquin Niemann.
I like that play as well. I'm thinking this week that I'm going to take a little bit more of a shot with some longer numbers for my outright plays. And then I'm going to hedge a little bit with some shorter guys for the props that we'll get to in just a little bit. But my first favorite outright led the field in ball striking last week at Augusta National. I think Harbortown's a much better golf course for him. Kevin Na at 50-1 has 5 career top 10 finishes at this one already. Could certainly see him in a tartan jacket come Sunday evening. He is he's going to take 10% of my bankroll at $10 of the 100 that we've been given. And yeah, Na's a guy that knows how to win. I could see it happening for him this week. And the other player, guy that we talk about very often that has a high floor and we're still kind of figuring out his ceiling. I think that ceiling's getting higher every single time he plays. Maverick McNeely has shown a propensity for playing his best golf on shorter golf courses. He's been top 5 over the past year and a half at Pebble Beach, at Silverado, and right here at Harbor Town, where he was in a share of 4th place last year. I think he's got some win equity this week, 55-1, $10 on Matt McNeely there to start out the portfolio. All right, this week, as I mentioned, Harbor Town Golf Links, just over 7,100 yards. It's a par 71. Precision over distance this week. And that doesn't just mean keeping it in the fairways. I've spoken with a handful of players already this week who say it's not about just, hey, hit it in the fairway and you're all set. There might be times where you hit it in the left side of the fairway and you have no shot to the green. You have to be in the right side of the fairway, but you can't be so far right that if you're in the rough, because you have no shot over there. So you have to be very accurate, very precise on this golf course. All right, let's get to our favorite props, Collin. Where are you going with your first ones?
I'm going to start off with a top 20 on Russell Henley, minus 110, 20% of my bankroll on a golfer that's just been hot lately. Best in the field in recent form, strokes gained approach, top 10 in long-term strokes gained tee to green. He had a couple missed cuts here a few years ago, but he figured it out. He finished 9th last year. He just came off 13th at the Players, one brutal conditions, and 13th at Arnold Palmer, and then he went 30th at the Masters. This guy is hanging around. I'm just looking for a top 20. And Henley, it's just that he's not a powerhouse off the tee box. He's not a bomber. And what you said is you need to be accurate, and he is. So being a bomber is not an element that you need, and so that fits the Russell Henley profile perfectly here. So I'm going to use 20% of my bankroll at the Heritage on him to make a top 20. And that rolls me right into a big name golfer. I wanted to throw a lot of my biggest play of the weekend is 30% of my bankroll on Collin Morikawa at plus 150. Now I'm in an OAD league, and I took Collin Morikawa on the Players, and he got cut. And I was just brutally hurt by the fact that this guy got the worst tee times for all of that. And his odds have not been shaded too much when it comes to outrights, but when it comes to props, some really good numbers on Collin Morikawa here. 68th at the Valspar, the Players I mentioned, he got cut. He was a non-factor for most of the Masters. Then he just shows up on Sunday at the Masters and shoots a tight 67. Something has clicked for him. I expect that to translate here, where he finished 7th last year at the Heritage. And, he had terrible time with everything. The odds have kind of tailed off in his top 10s and top 20s. So I'm going to take him 30% of my bankroll on the most elite iron player in this field, top 10 odds plus 150.
I'm in the same one and done pool as you, Collin. I also had Collin Morikawa at the Players Championship. I'm still mad at him for it, but he owes us both one, but hopefully he pays you back this week. All right. I mentioned earlier that I'm going to go a little bit bigger, some longer odds for my outrights, and then narrow it down with some guys that are a little bit shorter for my prop plays. And that includes a couple of top 10s here, starting with Corey Connors, 6th last week at Augusta National. He's firing on all cylinders. You say Morikawa is the most elite ball striker, iron player in the world. I say, yeah, I'll give you that. Corey Connors, he's up there with JT and Zalatoris, and I guess maybe you put Scheffler there right now as the top 5. And I really like Corey Connors at a golf course where you've got to just ball strike your way around it. Plus 250 for a top 10. I'll put $20 on that. And another guy like Connors, like Maverick McNeely, who I mentioned earlier, Matt Fitzpatrick was also in a share of 4th. All of them tied for a top 5 last year at Harbor Town. I'm going to take him at plus 190. His favorite golf course, I believe, in the world, not just on the PGA Tour schedule, in the world. So I think Fitz is a nice play. Plus 190, $20 there. All right, what else you got for props?
Let's hit a prop that we don't usually do on the show. And I don't, when we have football and I do college football and I do NFL, I don't usually take overtime props. But in this case at the Heritage, I'm taking a playoff prop. Yes, 3-1, a very small 7% of my bankroll is going to get thrown on this. And listen, if it was a weak field and there was one superstar, I wouldn't even consider this prop because they would probably run away with it. But 5 of the top 10 players in the world are at this event, which is going to make this a highly competitive track. Now, Stewart Cink winning this by, I think, 4 strokes last year. That's like one of the biggest margins that's ever finished at Harbor Town. And if you look since 2010, there's been 5 playoffs, 2010, 11, 13, 15, and 18. And other years, there's been times where you've won just by 1 stroke. So there is a loaded field here. there's just a history of ties into this. I know the math people are going to scream at me and say, sample size, you just can't take the last 12 years and that there's been 5 playoff. But I mean, it's a real thing here. It's tough to ignore that this is always tight. So I will bet a small 7% on a playoff prop at 3-1.
I like that. You got one more for me?
I do. And I saw this, Alex Noren minus 130 to be the top Swede. And when I started looking at his competition, holy cow, these guys are still playing golf. So, I'm going to take Alex Noren minus 130, 13% of my bankroll to even out that 7% on the playoff. His competition is Heinrich Stenson, has not played here since 2012. And when he has played here, he's missed 2 cuts. Heinrich Norlander has had 2 missed cuts here, including 1 last year. Alex Noren has finished top 30 here 3 years straight. His recent form is on right now. He finished 5th at the Honda. He finished 12th at the Valspar. Noren's a top 15 in the strokes gained categories that we want, tee to green. This number should be closer to minus 210. It is mispriced. So I love Alex Noren, top Swede.
Yeah, that's a really nice play, Collin. You essentially look at it. I know top Swede sounds like, oh man, he's got to beat a bunch of other players. It's essentially a 3-ball. It's a 3-ball against 2 other players who are struggling a little bit. I think that's a really smart play. All right. I'm going to get to my favorite play on the board this week, a top 20 on Matthew NeSmith. And for the uninitiated, you might look at it and go, wait, who? Matthew NeSmith finished in 3rd place at the Valspar Championship just a few weeks ago. Afterwards, had him on my radio show, Hitting the Green on PGA Tour Radio. And I asked him, hey, if we're going to take you at one place this year, where would it be? I already knew the answer before he said it, but he said Harbor Town. He loves this golf course, South Carolina native. Plays his golf at Palmetto, which isn't too different. It's a ball strikers golf course. I played there twice last week, by the way, during the Masters. Fantastic track. If you can play well there, you can play well anywhere. I like NeSmith at plus 550 for a top 20, throwing $15 on that. And then another top 20, Mito Pereira was everybody's it guy coming off the Korn Ferry Tour last year. Got an in-season promotion, 3 wins on that tour. And when he first got to the PGA Tour, he was finishing the top 10 seemingly every week. The entire golf betting industry was all over Mito. Since then, he's played pretty well, and yet everybody's sort of jumped off. He's got 2 top 20s in his last 5 starts, but he's playing some decent golf. I've got him at plus 275, $15 from the bankroll on Mito Pereira this week. All right, let's get to the ultimate DFS lineup. We do it every week on the Links and Locks podcast. We make a lineup. Also, check out our models and tools on Fantasy Labs every single week. Some great stuff over there. Collin, we're making a 6-man DraftKings lineup. You're up first. What you got?
Top 10 for Jason is good enough for me. I'm going to take Corey Connors at 9,700. It seems that the Gimme has turned into the Corey Connors show. He's on us with it every week, and for good reason. He has immaculate greens and regulation percentage. He finished 4th here last year, 2nd in this field in recent form, strokes gained, tee to green. So it's good enough for me to start a lineup.
Hey, look, this is just a mutual admiration society here. I will share Corey Connors with you if you share one of your outrights, Shane Lowry with me. I'm going to go after Shane Lowry for all the reasons that you mentioned earlier. I think he's bound to pop very, very soon. And again, I don't know if it's this week or next week or a month from now or 2 months from now. At some point, you're going to see Shane Lowry holding up a trophy. Get on it earlier rather than too late. I'm throwing him in the lineup at 9,800. But now we've got to save ourselves a little money here somewhere.
Yeah, we went a little over budget with our first 2 players, so we got to bring it down. And I mentioned that Corey Connors is 2nd in this field in tee to green. Who's 1st in recent form tee to green? Charles Howell III at $7,100, who has posted the best tee to green form of anybody in this field. That's the last 6 weeks of play. Charles Howell III at a price of $7,100 is a nice trim back on a budget, will be low owned, a player that finished top 20 here last year and 4th at the Texas Open just 2 weeks ago. I like the play at $7,100.
He's also one of the nicest people in the entire world. He really is. Charles Howell's the best. All right. I'm going to go with a nice guy too. A guy that likes to have some fun off the golf course. Brian Harman at 7,700, trending in the right direction. There's not a more perfect golf course on the PGA Tour for a guy like Harman. Gritty dude. I know he's fired up about not having won over the last couple of years. I look at him very much like his UGA buddy, Russell Henley, in that the results haven't quite met the performance yet. And at some point, that positive regression, so to speak, is coming. Brian Harman, 8 consecutive rounds under par at Harbor Town. I can see a really good week for him. This is a point-to-point-to-point golf course. I think that suits him really well here.
Yeah, and at this point in our lineup, Jason, we had about 78 to 7,900 average per player for the last two, and I just didn't like any of the names around there. So my choice was to either go low or go high. You're the man, so I wanted to give you enough budget, so I went low at $6,700. I went with Chad Ramey. I mean, Chad Ramey won Corrales Punta Cana 3 weeks ago. He finished 41st at the Texas Open 2 weeks ago. And Ramey always had a decent GIR percentage. His putts per round are always low. And I expect a made cut here and some birdies. I say this every week. If you're going to go down and grab somebody in the $6,000 range, you need a made cut, you need stable GIR, you need putts, and you just need a couple birdies so that they can extend it, make the cut, extend it, get some more birdies. I'm leaving enough room for my partner here to take a big name, and Chad Ramey at 6,700 was the best I could find that fits the profile for this course.
I like that. And we look to be a little contrarian in these lineups too. You want to take the same guys that everybody else is taking. I can't believe there's going to be a whole lot of Chad Ramey on the board this
Right.
week. And so you left me a lot of money to spend, and I'm going to spend it wisely. In fact, I did my research. I had Webb Simpson on my radio show just a few hours ago, earlier this afternoon. And I asked him, I said, look, all right, a few things, Webb. Okay. You were hurt about a month ago. You missed about 2 months of time. How are you feeling? I said, I feel great. Had a neck problem. Wasn't sure at the Players if I was going to re-injure myself. I really wasn't fully confident, but I played 3 more events since then. I feel really good. I said, okay, Webb, you're going back to Harbor Town. You won here 2 years ago. You haven't finished outside the top 16 in 5 years. Your personal ATM. You feel like this is a great place to get. I'm telling you, I love this golf course. I love everything about it. My caddy just points me in the right direction. I hit it there, and we go out and we make a ton of money and we make some good points every single year. And so Webb Simpson, I think, is a really nice play. And maybe people get a little scared off because he has not played his best golf coming off that injury. But if he's going to do it, he's going to do it on this one. Connors, Lowry, Howell, Harmon, Ramey, Simpson, ship it. I like that lineup a lot. Just a couple of minutes left here. But we can't forget one of our favorite bets every single week. It's nice to get that bankroll up on a Thursday afternoon. So let's find our favorite first round leader plays. Collin, where are you going?
Well, I think this is not just my favorite first round leader play. I think it's the entire Action Network. I think it's entire Twitter worlds. I'm going Harold Varner III, 65 to 1 odds, 10% of my bankroll. Listen, needless to say, we love him around these parts, but HV3 finished second on this course last year. He shot a 66 in the first round. And Varner's first rounds lately have been par or better. We're talking Masters, Valspar, Players. I'll slide 10% on a golfer that loves Harbor Town and is a personal favorite all of ours. So Harold Varner III, 65 to 1.
Years ago, I wrote a column on the Thursday All-Star team. This was before I started working in golf betting. I was just covering the game, and the Thursday All-Star team sort of had a backhanded compliment to it. Now you look at the Thursday All-Star team, you go, love these guys. They cash first-round leader bets. Harold Varner III might be the captain of the Thursday All-Star team. He's right up there. And so we can definitely cash some tickets on him. I go back and forth all the time, Collin. You take a guy with a long shot with a big number next to his name on Thursday, and one of the better players shoots around in the day. And you're like, oh man, why didn't I take him? That was easy. And then you take a guy, you're like, all right, he's got a short number. Then some guy out of nowhere, and you're like, I should have taken it. You go back and forth. You'll regret it no matter what if you don't cash it. But I'm going with a short number. Again, just talked about Webb Simpson, but I'm getting back on Webb Simpson here at 35 to 1. I think that's a good number. I don't know about him outright this week, but 6 of the 12 times he's played this tournament, he has shot a sub 70 score in round 1. I think he's got another good one coming. Like I said, he loves this golf course, and he can post some good numbers there. Let's recap those portfolios. Collin's got Lowry and Neiman for outrights, props on Henley, Morikawa, Noren, and a playoff this week. Very interesting. And first round leader bet on HV3. I've got outrights on Na and McNeely, props on Connors, Fitz, Neesmith, and Mito Pereira, and first round leader bet on Webb Simpson. Thank you, everybody out there, for watching this episode of the Gimme. Remember, check out our content on Golf Bet this week and every other week for all of our coverage on the RBC Heritage and beyond. For Collin Wilson, I'm Jason Sobel. Good luck with all of your bets from the RBC Heritage. Here's hoping you guys hit the green.